Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Lexa Peterson, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Sub-Lieutenant Eva Sawinski. We warmly welcome the family of Second Lieutenant William Harold McLeod, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. If able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed at the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Second Lieutenant William Harold McLeod. William McLeod was born on Wollongong Station in Mortlake, Victoria in 1885. He was the youngest of 3 children born to Charles Henry McLeod and his wife Mary. Mary died in June 1886, not long after William's birth. Charles remarried in 1888 and the family moved to Melbourne when Charles began working for the General Post Office. William attended first the local state school and then Collingwood Technical School. On the 14th of September 1900, William was appointed a junior postal assistant following his father's footsteps. Tragedy again struck the family in 1904, when oldest son Ernest died shortly after his 21st birthday. Having remained with the General Post Office, William was eventually promoted to senior linesman. In 1906, he married Emily Willingham, and the couple moved to cottage on Punt Road in Melbourne. In 1909, Emily gave birth to a baby girl who died only a few months later. Alongside working at the General Post Office, William was also an active member of the 52nd Infantry in Melbourne, joining it in 1912. William enlisted in Australian Imperial Force shortly after the outbreak of the First World War, on the 17th of August 1914. Initially given the temporary rank of Lance Sergeant, William was appointed as a corporal in the 5th Infantry Battalion on the 1st September 1914. He underwent his initial training first in Ballarat and then Broadmeadow camps, where he worked as a physical drill instructor for the new men. After only 2 months of initial training, Corporal William McLeod departed Melbourne with the 5th Battalion on the 21st of October 1914, sailing on the troop ship Orvieto to Albany in Western Australia. There the Orvieto joined the first contingent, which left Albany early November. Although initially instructed to sail straight to England, the contingent received instruction to instead disembark in Egypt, where the soldiers would spend the winter training in a warmer climate before traveling to Western Front. The 5th Battalion arrived in Egypt on the 2nd of December and began further training at Mina Camp outside Cairo. During training in Mina Camp in December 1914, William was promoted to Sergeant in B Company of the 5th Battalion. After 4 months in Egypt, the 5th Battalion departed not for the Western Front, but for the Greek island of Lemnos, where the Australian Imperial Force was assembling to prepare for the coming attack on the Gallipoli Peninsula. The involvement of the Ottoman Empire in the war threatened British interest in the Middle East, and particularly shipping routes at the Suez Canal. The planned landing of troops on the Gallipoli Peninsula was part of the wider British naval operation, which aimed to force a passage through the Dardanelles Strait, capture the Turkish capital of Constantinople, and thus make the Ottoman Empire withdraw from the war. The 5th Battalion landed an Azak call on Gallipoli before dawn as a part of the second wave, which faced heavy artillery battery from the now alert Ottoman defenders. William survived the landing unscathed to join the rest of his battalion in their newly established position on the peninsula. But his cousin, Lieutenant Maurice Leslie McLeod, was killed during the landing. 3 days after the landing, William was again promoted, this time to the rank of second lieutenant. On the 6th of May, the 2nd Brigade was transferred from Anzac to Cape Health to assist the attack of the village of Krithia. Krithia was regarded as one of the key objectives for the British in the south of the peninsula. After the initial attempts to capture Krithia failed on the 28th of April, a second attack was launched on the 6th of May with support from the 2nd Australian Brigade. The 5th Battalion launched its attack on the village on the 8th of May. Although the advance failed, the battalion remained in trenches in the area until 11, when it was withdrawn. The attack captured little ground beyond original British position, but cost the 2nd Brigade almost a third of the strength in casualties. As the battalion regrouped on the 12th of May, 2nd Lieutenant William Harold McLeod was reported in the unit diary to have been killed in action on the first day of the attack. He was 30 years old. When she received news of his death in June 1915, his sister May inserted a commemorative poem in the edge of his honor. A gallant hero, true and brave, peacefully sleeps in the soldier's grave. Great is our sorrow, but God knows best. He has taken our loved one home to rest. Ultimately, 6 members of extended McLeod family lost their lives fighting in the First World War. If William's body was recovered from the battlefield, no note of his burial was made. He has no known grave, and it's commemorated at the Health Memorial at Cape Health in Turkey. His name is also listed on the Roll of Honor on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember 2nd Lieutenant William Harold McLeod, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of the better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not wear them, nor the years condemn. As the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over, but in Australia they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.